Just growing flowers just made, from an economical point of view, made so much more sense. And just like literally every stem I grew was selling out straight away. You know, people were queuing up at the gate asking for bouquets. And I thought, no, well, what we want to do here is have like no rules, just rock up, have fun. It's like, how can we really make the most of every stem? And so that's why pick your own is a fantastic thing.
Hello and welcome to my farm tour series. I'm here with James from Stem and Green, who has a really lovely flower farm here that does pick your own, and you also do retail sales and lots of other interesting things with the flowers that you grow here on site.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you.
Would you mind just giving us a brief overview of how Stem and Green runs and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so basically, if we sort of roll back 5 years, I used to be a TV producer. I used to work on, I always loved working on like gardening shows and anything that got me outside. I did a lot of farm programs and worked with the lovely Monty Don and Sarah Raven and all that lot. And I was always outdoors in my wellies filming stuff. I was always on the clean side of the lens. I never got myself dirty. So I was always sort of, you know, happy. But then lockdown happened and you know, I was meant to do Chelsea Flower Show that year. That got cancelled that first March. And then I had just had the best year at home, homeschooling the kids, just tending to my garden, growing a small flower cutting patch, and just had the most wonderful year. And I thought, oh, this beats getting the train at 5 o'clock in the morning to London, and this beats, you know, having to drive up to Worcestershire or Cheltenham or somewhere like, and having all your meals out of petrol stations. I just thought it was just lovely, just staying local and just like, you know, just enjoying and slowing down a bit. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something that's sort of, you know, more me. And so I sort of researched growing veg, and then I sort of looked at growing flowers, and just growing flowers just made, from an economical point of view, made so much more sense. You know, the price per square metre for roses compared to lettuce was just so different. So yeah, so I just thought, I'm going to grow flowers. And so I live in a little village, and so I asked my neighbour who had a small paddock, can I borrow a little patch? She said no. So I kept kind of going down the street until I eventually ended up at a really lovely family who said, oh yeah, we've got a spare paddock, take it on. And so so I started with about 3/4 of an acre, and that was 2021. And then lockdown had just come out, so all the weddings truncated into June 2021. Brexit happened, so all the flowers, Dutch flowers, were stuck at the ports, and so suddenly we had this like perfect storm, and just like literally every stem I grew was selling out straight away. And,
amazing.
Yeah, it was a mad kind of baptism straight into the deep end, really.
And where did you start, or where were you selling your flowers to begin with? Yeah,
so that's interesting. I started, plan A was to be purely wholesale. I just wanted to, you know, my vision was just to be outside, just grow flowers, cut buckets, you know, that was it.
Yeah.
But literally within like the first week, a local deli wanted bouquets. You know, people were queuing up at the gate asking for bouquets, asking for buckets. And so literally it was like YouTube open, how do you make a bouquet? You know, I did Mother's Day 2021, and each bouquet must have taken like an hour. You know, now it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was redoing it. So yeah, so it was sort of a real lesson in kind of following the market and not, you know, necessarily, you can always have a business plan. My business plan was 100% wholesale, but it, you know, the market wanted it to be different, and so suddenly, retail began. And so yeah, year one was sort of half and half, maybe. You know, there was local florists, but we were growing on quite a small patch, so we didn't have huge quantities. But yeah, florists and retail, and then after that we started introducing seeds, we started introducing sort of tools during the winter, dried flowers, we started introducing workshops, and really diversifying. But it's been really quite heavy retail from the start.
Yeah.
And you just sort of like, you know, you put your flowers out there and see who comes and gets them first, and it's just generally been the retail customers who've jumped first. So,
yeah. And did you start off just selling locally? Because I know that now you are posting your retail flowers. How was it made up, and how is it made up now, flowers that you sell locally versus
yeah, that's interesting. I sort of, from an early point, I saw that there was a real, I used to live in London, and you know, it was impossible to get farm fresh flowers. There was lovely local farmers markets, but there was all you just couldn't get this sort of stuff in the big cities. And I'm a real believer that you should go and buy local. And if you do have a flower farmer local to you, that's I always recommend that if anyone rings up. But there are pockets of places that aren't fed, and so I just sort of thought, if we can widen our reach and really get beautiful, sustainably grown English flowers into those little pockets of big cities, then why not try it? So pretty much that first year, by the end, I think it was sort of September-y, we tried doing Postal flowers, and it just really flew off the shelves. So at the moment, do you know what? Probably about 70% of our retail flowers go nationwide. Right. Our kind of local is still quite small. Okay. I've always sort of thought I'd love to one day. Postal is brilliant, but you're still relying on petrol-driven postal vans taking them around. I'd love to do just local, but actually there isn't. There's still such a need for it, so we're going to carry on for a while.
That's great.
It's a bugbear sometimes. Sort of buying thousands of boxes each time and storing them, but we've really tried. We really worked hard to make sure we find the most sustainable. So we used to use DHL and DPD because they were all they'd carbon offset. But actually, we looked at now we use Royal Mail because they're going out anyway. Do you know what I mean? Your local postman is going to make that route regardless of whether my flowers are in there anyway. So we've now switched to using Royal Mail. Every element of our box is completely compostable, down to the little nappy that we put on the stems. There's zero plastic in there. So we've just really tried to make it as sustainable as possible, and really also to make the flowers as travel as best as they can. So so that's we started that pretty early on, and it's carried on and it's still a big part of what we do.
Oh, nice. So going back to the timeline, you started off on, you say, about 3/4 of an acre, and this is actually not that plot, is it? You've moved in the last couple of years. Could you talk us through why you decided to expand and what you did on this new plot, or what you've decided to do on the new plot?
So we had this lovely couple who lent me this 2-acre paddock, and they said, grow flowers on it, but we don't want any public on the site. I think they had visions of buses of WI groups coming, and they were it was in their home, and they just worried it was going to be overwhelmed. So it was pretty much just a closed site for growing. And I just think, especially this morning, it's just so beautiful. It's so tranquil. I often have people who say, look, I've had a really bad day, can I just pop in and walk around your field and decompress? And I say, here's the code for the gate, just let yourself in. And it's such a beautiful place, and I've always wanted to share that joy and share that kind of the feeling you get when you're around flowers. And so we did 3 years at this old field, and then and the soil had got so beautiful. We'd really invested. We put a lot of digestate on this, and really invested in that soil. And it was just the most painful decision to kind of leave what we'd created. But also, it was on the flip side, it was the kind of the practice plot. We made lots of mistakes, planted things too close together, too far apart. So we'd made lots of, tested stuff out, and actually we could now learn from what we'd done there, and we were going to reapply all the rules here and do things better. And actually, so we end of 2023, at the beginning of 2024, started lifting all the perennials, and then we came over here beginning of last year, and so step one was to shoo the horse out that was in here. Then big bigger deer fence went up, rabbit proof fence went up, and then we started making beds and planting, and it was enormous work, after spending 3 years getting a really nice patch going, to start from scratch again. And it literally is going back to square one. The soil here is pretty poor. We're on the chalk downlands here, so it's very chalky, very flinty. So you've got these enormous everywhere. You've got these flints, which do you know what they call them around here? Hampshire diamonds.
Okay.
So, but here we are, and we're just really sort of putting all our effort into making this soil, and it's going to take a few years to get it up to scratch. But yeah, the point of moving up here is that we can now sort of open up to the public. We can have workshops, we can have pick your own, and really we can sort of share the joy of that we all sort of share daily, you know, working in this lovely spot. So yeah, really moving up here. We've got a little car park down the bottom, so at the weekends loads and loads of cars are pouring in, and the people are here just having coffees, picnicking, having a lovely time, and just enjoying. And so, you know, if you come on a Saturday, there'll be a workshop over there, there'll be a group painting, there'll be pick your own. It's just a real sort of, you know,
wholesome.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. So that's why we moved.
Yeah.
Painful decision. But.
Yeah, I can imagine that, digging up all of the plants and having to start again. Although, like you said, having a fresh canvas to work on is probably quite nice after you've made all of your mistakes initially.
Yeah, exactly. So
how does the pick your own make up the proportion of your sales through the flower farm now?
Do you know what? It's a lovely one. It makes up about a third of our sort of income, but actually within quite a small window. So we only really do pick your own in the kind of the main summer months, but it makes up quite a large portion of. And the nice thing about it from a business point of view is, you know, it might be the equivalent of, you know, a Saturday might be the same as what we might make on a wedding, but a wedding would involve, you know, half a dozen extra freelancers, renting vans, you know, all the sort of the extras that come with that. So actually it's a far more sort of cost-effective way of making income, because we're literally sitting at the gate handing out buckets and scissors and stuff. But still a lot of work goes in really to getting the flowers, you know, there. You know, a pick your own Saturday they can cut thousands of stems, so you've got to have the thousands of stems. And one of the things when I started Pick Your Own, I did quite a lot of research, and I looked around all the other Pick Your Owners, not in the sort of the country, and I really started to see a sort of trend in a lot of them had sort of, you had to pre-book, a lot of them had rules like, oh, you can only pick X number of flowers, and you can only have 3 dahlias, and if you have a 4th dahlia you have to pay £1 for it. And it was just sort of like rules. And I thought, no, well, what we want to do here is have like no rules, just rock up, have fun, you know, just like, don't be going around thinking, oh, I'm worried I've got too many dahlias. Just sort of just throw yourself in, immerse yourself in the flowers. So yeah, in order to have that kind of freedom, we've really got to have the quantities. So so a lot of work goes in the beginning of the year, really making sure we've planted up enough flowers for people to go.
Yeah, well, I recently visited another pick your own flower farm, and they mentioned that they kind of had to overplant everything just to make sure that there was something to see in the field, and because people like to come and see colour in the field. Do you find that that's your experience as well? Yeah,
totally. So if I went back to June, the field looked quite empty because we'd had a lot of heat waves and stuff. But you know, if I could still pick, you know, 2,000 stems myself on a day, even though it looked really sort of, it didn't look like there was anything here, but actually, you know, we could still get quite a lot of flowers out of it. But we had a lot of people come in and go, oh, there's no flowers. And I was like, there are, I promise you, you just got to sort of like work a little harder. But yeah, people want to see the flowers, and they want to see colour. And so it's crucial to our planting to like have like the dahlias right by the gate. So you sort of see them when you come in, you know, to have colour right at the sort of the front is absolutely crucial. And because we're all drawn by colour, aren't we? We're all sort of drawn to, and the big colourful things are the things that sell best, you know. Everyone goes mad for the straw flowers because they're like bright and spiky, and it's really as they said, like, you've got to really overplant, you've got to have more than you think you need. So
James, do you have to do much education with your pick your own customers? How do you teach them how to pick flowers?
That's a really good question. I think you know, I've done a pick your own strawberry places. I've been to other pick your own where you just sort of, you know, there's a stand at the gate, you grab a bucket and go. And I did, but I think for us it's really important that people actually are educated and they're given a few little hits of tips, because we want them to pick the best stuff. We don't just want them to pick the stuff that's all blown and open. We want them to pick stuff that they're then gonna like actually get a week's worth of life out of. So when you arrive, we offer you 3 different sizes of buckets. There's even if you can just get a little posy, or you can go for a massive, huge amount. And then we talk you through a few little growing tips. So we talk about sort of stem length, where to cut on the plant to try and cut at a leaf node. We talk about length. We noticed a lot of people were quite timid at first and would all pick little short, they're too scared to go low, so they'll all take little bits like this. And actually, it's going to be harder when you get home to arrange that. Be bold. I always say an arm's length is a good, rule of thumb. So, a good 40 centimeters. Be bold. Take a nice bit of thing. Go to a leaf node, and then we just talk through the different ways of picking. So if we try and, especially the cosmos, make sure that the bee hasn't visited it and you've got that kind of nice clear center. We talk about the zinnias at the moment, giving them the little wiggle test. We talk about trying to pick stuff that's slightly closed. I mean, some people come and say, look, I've got a big birthday party tomorrow, so we think fantastic, just go for the big blown open stuff. If you really want them to last a week, we spend a good 2-3 minutes talking through all the different things, because we want people to not feel miffed that they spent £30 on a bucket and then they go home and then 2 days later it's all dead. So we also talk about really hydrating and giving them a good drink. If you haven't, we are on the website, it says bring a bucket to take the flowers home in. If you don't do that, we'll sell you a bucket for £1, just so they stay hydrated on your journey home. People are actually coming miles and miles and miles to pick, and so we say, you're going back far, and yes, we've got a 2-hour trip back to Dorset. So we're like, okay, you're definitely going to have one of our £1 buckets. You're going to keep it in water. When you get home, leave it somewhere cool. So so I think we could just say, here's your scissors, here's your buckets, have fun. But actually just spending 5 minutes giving a few little tips, I think will actually make you happier in the long term, because you'll, this is Lucy, so we'll give you a nicer bunch. You'll be able to last longer. So.
And do you give them any tips on picking certain types of filler and then focal flowers, or do you just let them pick whatever they fancy?
We generally say pick what you fancy, but I always sort of I'll say what I would do. I always say I start with the dahlias. I pick my dahlias first, and then that kind of normally sets the tone or the colours. And then I sort of go and get some cosmos. Then I work my way up and find this and that. So we talk about the kind of the journey, but then some people just want to come and pick 50 dahlias. There's some people come with an intention, and so we're not going to stop them. So they can, if you want 70 dahlias, come and pick 70 dahlias. We also do a kids bucket, and the kids love just putting in 4 dandelions and a stick. And we're not going to stop them doing that. They can happily pick as many weeds as they want. So
so you've got experience of wedding flowers, retail, and now the pick your own. I just wondered how those experiences shaped what you grow on site, and how you've decided to change what you grow based upon the pick your own. So generally we've always grown for retail. We've never grown for kind of big stuff for wedding. We've always, our main stay has always been kind of bouquets. So we generally grow stuff that's kind of bouquet sized, if you know what I mean. But the pick your own has really changed a sense. I think we've grown for mass. We've grown colour, more brighter colours. We really noticed last year people being drawn to the brighter stuff, and so we've really gone for colour. We've gone for just sort of ease of growth as well, so a lot more annuals, even just like simple things like cosmos. It's just it's easy to grow, and so we're sort of, I suppose, not growing the weirder, harder stuff. It's just keeping it simple and just going for ease and mass. And when we do pick your own, we're selling it a lot cheaper than we would sell it at retail. So actually we've got to make that money back somehow. And so it's by just really simplifying our what we're growing. And so we used to grow Pleurum and stuff that was actually quite hard to germinate. It would take a lot more
effort, and actually it's far easier now just to grow 10 beds of cosmos or 10 beds of sunflowers, because you're still going to get as many happy faces. And actually even this year I think we need more the China asters, straw flowers. They're just the big bright bubbly stuff is what people want. People just want a big bucket of lovely joyous colour. And so I think that's I mean, here we've got behind you got some lovely millet, and you can see it's been completely untouched. I thought it was going to be a wonderful textural addition to your bucket, but no, people just want lots and lots of colour.
So you're already thinking about what you're going to do next year and how
100%. Yeah, so next year we need better succession. I mean, succession's always the crucial, you know, we really want that constant supply of flowers, and actually just to grow less varieties but more of them. And more colour is the
interesting.
Colour's the crucial thing. But you know, the hard thing is we're also during the week we're still also doing retail, we're doing weddings, you know, funerals. We're a really sort of broad church of stuff, so we've also still got to make sure we're, you know, growing for all the other activities. So yeah, Monday to Thursday we're a regular flower farm, and then at the weekend the gates fly open, and it's you know, everyone's welcome in. So we've always got a plant for all the different camps.
So do you take plants or flowers that you need for your retail and your wedding work from this field here? You don't fence anything off?
No, it's all one big field, and so pick your own always happens at the end of the week. So it's normally sort of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and by then we've generally finished picking. You know, there's any wholesale orders or any wedding orders will have all kind of gone out the door Thursday morning. You know, we're always trying to think, it's the whole, like in food you had the whole sort of snout to nose philosophy. It's like, how can we really make the most of every stem? And so that's why pick your own is a fantastic thing, because normally we wouldn't be selling stuff at the weekends. And then even on a Monday we'll come in and even scoop up again and pick up all the stuff that's even been left, and then that becomes dry stuff for confetti. And so we're really trying to make sure we're working hard to make sure every stem finds a home. It's a good way to be. Instead of chucking it on the compost, even though compost is a good thing. Compost is a grand thing. We really need compost, but also we've put so much effort into buying that seed. Seed prices have gone up, so we've sown that seed, we've painstakingly pricked it out and grown it on an expensive compost. You know, we've really got to make sure we make the most of every stem, really.
So James, thanks so much for showing me your flower farm this morning. It's been really brilliant, and it's such a gorgeous morning for it as well.
Perfect, isn't it?
And we're just in your, what do you call it?
Little workshop, studio, call it shed, whatever you want to call it.
And it's lovely because you serve teas and coffees for people who are coming to do the pick-your-own as well, so it's really nice for people to really make the most of the day that they spend here. And I just wondered what your goals were for the site in the next few years. Where do you see it going?
Do you know what? I really want to see more people here. I want to see more and more people come and enjoy flowers. I think we've, not going too deep, but we've become so detached from flowers in a way. You know, we buy them at the supermarket, they just become a commodity. They're just this thing we grab, stick them in a vase, when they finish we bin them. And actually by sort of really connecting with them, we suddenly learn to enjoy them, appreciate the hard work that's gone into them, and the amazing wonder and beauty of an intricacy of a flower. And so that's why we run a lot of like painting workshops here, we run a pottery workshop, we run a photography workshop. They're all about stopping and slowing down, and we do a couple of mindful workshops, and it's all about slowing down and looking at flowers and really just appreciating them, enjoying them, enjoying the incredible beauty, and just also the joy you get from them. And that's really been like the sort of philosophy through all this. It's like, how can we add joy, or you know, how can we bring the joy of flowers into every aspect of what we do? So so I think that the long-term goal is on more flowers, more people coming and enjoying them, and just more workshops, more This week on Wednesday, a local painting club's coming. They're just going to sit and we're not charging anything. They're just going to sit and paint.
Nice.
And but I want to see yoga classes here, poetry reading groups. I don't know, book clubs. All just coming and just sort of enjoying this space, and it's becoming a bit of a real sort of space for events and sort of dinner clubs and all to sort of bring people closer to nature and really engage people with nature, with flowers, and just getting people outdoors.
Yeah, and I think you're right in what you say, is that the life seems so fast paced nowadays, and it's really nice to have people like you who provide spaces for people to come and chill out and just take some time in nature.
It's so crucial. There's a lovely local lady who just texts every so often and said, I've had the worst day ever. Can I just come and spend some time in the field? And it's like, yeah, just come and decompress, just walk around, especially at 6 p.m. at 7 p.m. when the sun's low, and it's just lovely and quiet and calm, and it's just a really tranquil place to come. And so I think the more we can use this as a way for people to come and sort of facilitate people to really sort of slow down from life and just enjoy this slow life of beautiful flowers.
So usually what I finish off all of my farm tour videos with is asking the experts if they've got something a piece of information that they want to impart on the viewers who are predominantly enthusiastic flower growers or people who are wanting to become flower farmers, or maybe they've just begun. I just wondered if you had a tip that you could give to those people.
Do you know what my biggest tip, and this is something that I learned from TV, my sort of career in TV. When I worked in TV, we'd really understand our audience. We always used to have a kind of a imaginary viewer, and so my imaginary viewer was always Mrs. Miggins, and an 8 p.m. BBC Two programme was a very different Mrs. Miggins to 9 p.m. BBC Two. The demographics and the audience would really change, and we'd really tailor each programme that we were making to that viewer. And I do think that it's so easy starting a business, any business, to really forget about the end user, and we think, well, this is the price I'm going to charge because this is all the hard work I've put into it. But actually, really think. My main tip is to really think about who your buyer is, what do they want, what are they going to spend, and really understand, any service. We're a service industry, aren't we? So any service is always just filling a gap in someone else's life. There's two ways of doing it. You either make the people want the thing, or you fill a gap that's needed. And so if we kind of follow fill the gap that's needed, people are desperate for flowers, people are desperate for, like we saw with food, people are wanting to engage with local and seasonal food, and they're wanting to engage with local growers and people who are doing things in a more sustainable way. So how can we fill that gap in their life and give them something that they want, give them something at a price point that they want? And so everything that we do is driven by the user, or driven by the end customer. Because at the end of the day, you can't. You're nothing without your customers, in a sense. And so everything we do is how can we really add value, add joy, add something into our customer's life. And so I just think, there's no point. You can sort of have all the business plans in the world, and you can have all the spreadsheets and everything, but without really understanding, and also just engaging and creating relationships and being, that's all absolutely crucial. So customers are always right.
Great piece of advice. Thank you, James, and thanks so much for welcoming me here on the flower farm this morning and sharing all of your insights into Picayune and how you're running your flower farm. And if you want to catch up on the other farm tour series episodes that I've got on my channel, then the link is down in the description. There's a dedicated playlist just for all of those videos. So thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you again on the next one.